This is VOA News. I'm Scott Walterman. In part of Ukraine controlled by Russian-installed authorities, the Russians are holding elections. Reuters correspondent Matthew Laratanda says they're trying to cement Moscow's authority in what it calls its new territories.
Russia doesn't fully control any of the four regions where the votes are being held: Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. They each have governors hand-picked by Moscow, all members of President Vladimir Putin's political coalition called United Russia. All of them are now running for full terms in office. Ukrainian officials say the elections are illegal. They say it shows why it's impossible to hold any peace talks with Moscow until Russia withdraws all its troops from Ukrainian territory.
Reuters correspondent Matthew Laratanda. Former U.S. President Trump pleaded not guilty in his Georgia election interference case today, and as we hear from Reuters correspondent Jillian Kitchener, asked to be tried separately from the others charged in Georgia.
The Georgia indictment, filed earlier this month, accuses Trump himself of 13 felony counts, including racketeering. 18 other defendants, along with Trump, face a total of 41 criminal counts, including falsely testifying to lawmakers that election fraud had occurred and urging state officials to violate their oaths of office by altering the election results.
Reuters correspondent Jillian Kirchner. Two former leaders of the far-right Proud Boys extremist group have been sentenced to prison for spearheading an attack on the U.S. Capitol to try to prevent the peaceful transfer of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden in 2020. The 17-year prison term for Joseph Biggs and 15-year sentence for Zachary Rehl are the longest. This is VOA News. Nicaragua said Thursday it would export tariff-free fabrics, beef, and seafood, among other products, to China under a newly signed free trade agreement concluded after the Central American country cut diplomatic ties with Taiwan. Nicaragua's trade minister said the agreement signed Wednesday will enter into force in January. Nicaragua and China established diplomatic relations in 2021 after Managua severed ties with Taiwan and switched its recognition to Beijing. About a week after treated wastewater from Japan's crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant was released into the Pacific Ocean, U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, traveled to the region Thursday to show his support. More from VOA's Jeff Custer.
Emanuel enjoyed a lunch of locally caught seafood with mayor of the city of Soma in Fukushima Prefecture Thursday as reporters looked on. The support was significant as China earlier this week banned all Japanese seafood imports and accused the nation of treating the ocean like a sewer. Emanuel accused China of spreading misinformation and playing politics with the situation. He praised Japan for its transparency and scientific rigor before releasing the water and said during the COVID-19 pandemic, China should have acted more like Japan.
If any one of the qualities of scientific rigor, international cooperation, and full transparency had been adopted by China during the COVID crisis, lives would have been saved.
Jeff Custer, VOA News.
U.S. President Joe Biden addressed employees at the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency today after declaring the state of Florida an official emergency disaster area following the hurricane.
There's still some deniers out there in terms of whether or not climate change has anything to do with any of this. And we're going to need a whole hell of a lot more money to deal with emergency appropriations, to deal with all you're taking care of. On behalf of the country, I want to deliver the heartfelt thanks to the emergency personnel in our communities, all across the federal government, including right here, all of you in front of me.
Tropical storm Idalia is headed back out to sea after leaving a trail of flooding and devastation throughout the southeast. India is one of the fastest-growing electric vehicle markets in the world, and more than 90% of India's 2.3 million EVs are the cheaper, more popular 2- and 3-wheelers, motorbikes, scooters, rickshaws. Policies to encourage sales, like a $1.3 billion federal program, plus rising fuel costs over the past decade, just part of the reason why electric vehicles are being adopted so quickly there. I'm Scott Walterman, VOA News.
Thank you for watching. Can you do me a favor? Please leave a comment in the comments section below. That would really help. Thank you, and see you again soon.